A Boomer Alley video.
There's been a lot of talk lately how Vladimir Putin has been steering Russia away from democracy and back towards a dictatorship. Thank God. At last, we're going to get to go back to the Cold War and feel safe again. Listen, I know some of you were concerned about human rights and nuclear proliferation and claims over Arctic oil, but I got to tell you, from Nikita Khrushchev banging a shoe on the table to Boris Yeltsin being drunk as a skunk, I miss those guys. Listen, there's always going to be good guys and bad guys, and the Russians were great bad guys. They made us better. The space race? Without the Russians, it's Kaputnik. The Olympics? We all cared more about the Olympics when we could root against the Soviet bloc. Remember how proud you used to feel when some little American girl would come out on the floor to compete, and the Russians would then send out some woman with testicles? Now from USSR, Svetlana Moskovina. Gotta hand it to them. Those people knew their performance-enhancing drugs. I'd like to get my hands on some Russian Viagra. And when the Russians were the bad guys, even the military was happier. They got to spend billions and billions of dollars on weapon systems, and we never even had to find out if they worked. It was much better for our self-esteem. We never really fought the Russians. We had a hotline. The deal was, you had to call before you attacked. No one's going to war if they have to call first. It's like the ultimate booty call. Hi. Listen, I know it's late, but I thought I might come over, to attack. What are you wearing? And back then, when another country or group hated the Americans, all they did was align themselves with the Russians, and the Russians wouldn't let them do anything stupid. They'd show them the hotline and say, you want to make that call? Go ahead, you call them. But the biggest thing I miss about the Russians being the bad guys is their sense of humor. Back in the real old days, you could make fun of anybody. The Chinese, the Jews, the Italians, the Germans. Well, you can still make fun of the Germans. They have no sense of humor. They're not going to get it. But once political correctness came in, all of a sudden, any ethnic joke was off limits. Even Polish jokes, which were pretty funny, became blonde jokes, which don't work nearly as well. Here's a tip, by the way. If someone's telling you a blonde joke, if you think Polish joke, it'll be funnier. Anyway, the Russians never lost their sense of humor. We've never seen riots in the streets of Moscow because the Russians were outraged over Boris and Natasha and Furious Leader, did we? Of course not. These are people who can stand online for toilet paper and still have a sense of humor.
Knock, knock. Who's there? KGB, open up. Shh, here they come.
And now they have oil money. It could be like a whole country full of Beverly Hillbillies. It may be very funny. So here's what we need to do. If Putin and his gang of thugs decide to tear Russia's infant democracy away from the breast of freedom, be outraged, be appalled, but, don't make too big a stink about the cost of the new arms buildup. But also be prepared to get a good night's sleep. Because when it comes to bad guys, the Russians are the best. That's what I think. Let me know what you think. I'm Mark at boomeralley.com.
It's Boomer Alley, love.